What's going on, everybody? I'm back here today with you, but this time I got the upright bass. Today we are going to be talking about the easiest way you can get good at the upright bass, and I'm going to go through a couple tips that's going to help you make the process a little bit shorter. The reason why I broke out the upright bass is because I've got a show coming up where we're playing all 50s Elvis music, and if you know anything about Elvis, if you know anything about the 50s, they were playing the upright bass. So here I am, dusting it off, trying to get my fingers back to work, because I'll tell you what, man, the upright bass is a beast of an instrument to play. I don't care what anyone says. It's tricky. It's hard. It's heavy. It's huge. The strings are big. There's 100 reasons why you may not want to play the upright bass, and I probably agree with at least half of them. So yeah, it's been a while, and I'm going through some of the stages I was going through when I was a student in college, and I remember the pain I was going through. The first time I ever played the upright bass was actually before college. I was called to come play upright bass in a Christmas show, and I said yes without even really thinking about it, because I played electric bass, and I figured, you know what, it's not going to be that difficult to go in there and play a little bit of Christmas music on the upright bass. Boy, was I wrong, and I looked silly. After that, I learned how to play the upright bass correctly, and now I'm going to tell you how you can skip a few steps and make it a little bit easier with just a few simple tips. Number one, this is probably so overlooked among upright bass players, but you've got to get the bass in the right height. So when I first played the upright bass, I might have had it wherever it was set by my father, whose bass I was borrowing. And he's 6'3". He's taller than me, so this bass was up here. And that was how I was learning to play the bass at the house, was with it super tall. And then when I put it in the case and I lowered the height of the bass and I took it to the gig and I pulled it out, I might have had it a lot shorter. The point is, keeping the consistency of the height is very crucial for you being able to play in tune. Let's talk about how you can position the height correctly. On the bass, you've got an E string, just like any other bass. You got to find where the F is, which is 1/2 step up on the E string, and that is where your eyes should be in line when you play the bass. Now, keep in mind that also, I've got my bass at a slant. Some people like to play their bass standing straight up. I like to let the bass sit on me, sit on my stomach, and it feels comfortable to me that way. So after I have the height adjusted, I lean it on myself, and I make sure my eye is pointing straight at the F. That's how I set my height. It's always the same. Tip number 2. This is another big one that I didn't know the first time I played the upright bass. Upright bass players only play up until about the 8th, where the 8th fret would be, with just 3 fingers. And that would be these 3 fingers: your index, your middle finger, and your pinky. They leave out the ring finger simply because you can't achieve 2 half steps between those 3 fingers. It's a huge step. If you use these fingers, you can get a perfect half step and half step right there. And that's how you're going to be able to play more in tune. So you got your eye at the F, and then you got your 2 half steps. So check this out, what this actually looks like. I'm going to have my finger up there because I can't, maybe I could play it like that. But essentially, this is how you would play. You're never going to use that ring finger. Now, my ring finger is touching the strings where I'm fingering with my pinky, just because my ring finger is attached to my pinky, but I'm not putting any pressure on my ring finger. You don't actually start using the ring finger on the upright bass until you get into what's called thumb position up here. And there's no money in thumb position. So just here, keep it back here. Play back here, and you're gonna be just fine. We're trying to make this easy. On the right hand, you're only going to use 1 finger. I also showed up to that show probably playing kind of like this. You know, it's not. That's also. You can use 2 fingers if you like. You want to get that meat on the side of the finger so that you can really get the versus. I'm plucking that as hard as I can, but with the side here, you can't see that. With the side of my finger versus, it's just, you're going to be able to play like that much easier, much longer. Get that meat on the string. That's what you want. get that meat on there. And now, the other piece of advice I'd like to give to any starting upright bass players, and this is probably the biggest piece of advice other than setting the height and using the right fingers, but you gotta use the open strings when you're creating bass lines. If you're in the key of B flat, which is pretty much the only key I've played in this video because it's probably the easiest key to play in, you wanna use, you got your B flat, you got your D on an open string, you got the 6 of B flat, which is G on an open string. Oh, before you hit, but playing the open string is what told me that I was sharp right there. Use the open strings to help ground yourself. It's kind of like warming up with a pedal point, a pedal tone, kind of droning in the bottom where you're able to use your ear to kind of keep yourself in tune. Well, if you don't have a drone and you're playing a gig, I think you should just make your bass lines using open strings. You can do the same thing in any key. And that's pretty much it. If you listen to that advice that I just gave you, so that's going to be setting the correct height, keeping your eyes in line with the F on the E string, using only these 3 fingers on your left hand, only this finger on your right hand, and using open strings, you're going to sound 3 times better than I did at my first upright bass gig. So you're welcome. Now, I didn't mention this bass before. I do play upright bass from time to time. It's not nearly as often, if ever as often, as I play electric bass. If you're interested in seeing some of the electric basses that I play from day to day, from time to time at my gigs, then check out this video right here. You can check out my ultimate bass collection for this year. Thanks for tuning in.